For joining us today. This is the ACJC Crime Victims Committee meeting Thursday, November 6th, 2025 at about 1:31 in the afternoon. Want to remind everybody that this is being recorded for use in the future, and also that during call to the public, you can email in for call to the public when that time arises. With that, can we take roll call?
Yes. Rachel Mitchell.
Sean Cox, present for Rachel Mitchell.
Chris Mays. Mina Mendez. Laura Conover.
Cami Sanchez, present for Laura Conover.
Roxanne Ferguson.
Present virtually.
And Chief Steve Stahl.
Present virtually.
Thank you. And we have a quorum.
Thank you, ma'am. You should have been sent a packet of information on your email. If you haven't opened that up, if you would do so right now, take a look at the minutes from the August 28th meeting. And if you see that there's no changes needed, we'll entertain a motion. If you feel that there's changes needed, please bring them to our attention at this time. Does anyone want to move to approve the minutes as written?
I move to approve the minutes as written.
Thank you, Ms. Cox. Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
That was Roxanne, right?
Yes.
Thank you, Roxanne. It's been moved and seconded to accept the minutes from the August 28th meeting as written. Is there any further discussion on this? Seeing and hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Chair votes aye, and the motion passes to accept the minutes. On to item number 3, which is Crime Victim Assistance Program. Point A is funding priority options. Dorinda.
So as we had started discussing at the last meeting, we are looking at a situation where we're going into this next year with no ARPA funding. So our only funding for this program will be the Victim Competent Assistance Funds. And so we are anticipating that we'll be able to hold steady with the amount of money we've been indicating from year over year of $750,000 is being available for this program for this next year, which is actually a small decrease as compared to this year since we increased the amount because of the remaining ARPA funds. But we know that we can support a $750,000 program. But part of our problem that we were looking at is that we have seen an increasing number of applications for this program and for this small amount of money over time because of the uncertainty of funding for victim services. And so that has brought about a couple of issues. One we'll be talking about after this, which is adjusting our grant cycle to accommodate more time to review applications and come to decisions. But in addition to that is how do we ensure that we are helping in the best way possible the victim services community? And we had a discussion last time about this. It was brought out by several different individuals that issues with ensuring that we have a fully trained workforce is important because a lot of times we're going to be working with newer people who are coming into the position and need that training, and their employers may not have the funds to provide that training for them anymore because of the limitations on funding available. And also how we need to provide additional training for those who are around for a long time. And so I took that into consideration. Also, there was a discussion about how we could use the funds and not duplicate funds that are being used by other agencies. So that was also part of the consideration. And so I'm coming before you today with a potential proposal. We can revise it, change it however we need to meet the needs of this committee so that it can be taken before the commission next week. But the proposal is basically to essentially at this point looking at holding steady with the $750,000, which is anticipated. But the primary thing is to create another set of tiered priorities. We've done this in the past. We have had in the past, we've had the tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3, with tier 1 being non-VOCA eligible projects, tier 2 being training projects, and tier 3 being VOCA eligible projects. And so we were looking at that structure again. And so we looked at that and made a couple of adjustments to it. So one of the things we did is we decided to flip tier 1 and tier 2, making tier 1 the higher tier and tier 2 the secondary tier, so that we could cultivate that professional workforce and provide that training. We looked at the requirements for credentialing. It's right now, the National Advocate Credentialing Program is 40 hours of pre-service training, and then they have an ongoing requirement every single year to maintain that accreditation. We would like to ensure that all of the advocates out in our field are able to get that credentialing in place. And then we're also looking at making sure that they're able to are equipped with all the things that they need with the for the maximum return on investment for the people who are hiring them, so that they are ready and able and to do this work. They're equipped to do the work. They understand how to do self-care for themselves so they don't burn out and leave the job as quickly. The idea is to help these individuals to stay in the positions once we get them, because one of the major costs for these agencies is bringing new people on. There's a cost to that, and it's quite large. And so if we're able to keep these individuals engaged and keep them in the field, I think that will actually reduce costs over time. And so our idea is to start off with a tier 1 that is focused on training. Right now, we don't have very many training projects coming through the door, but those training projects are often asking for things other than staff. They're often asking to scholarship students going through the door. And if we are focusing on staffing for those projects, then we're going to be losing out on the opportunity to assist a lot more than just that agency. Because if we're able to provide those scholarships, then that agency that's providing the training can bring in students from multiple other agencies to attend that training. And so we're thinking that this might have a really large reach beyond the agency we're funding if we do not limit the training piece to staffing. If we look at it from the perspective of providing the other things that the training needs and the resources they need. So we did not put any type of limitation on what that project would include, except that it had to be a training project. And the expectation is that that training project would have to meet some sort of standards. And so we put in there a requirement that if it's like a basic type of training, that it would have to meet credentialing standards, or if it is some other type of training, that it would have to meet the standards that are necessary for the students that they have coming before them. So potentially they might be getting credentialing by providing something through Arizona Post, so that they could make sure it was a post-certified training they're providing to officers on victim services, or if it's going to be through for advocates, it would be through the credentialing board for advocates, so that they're creating their trainings with that in mind, and their project would have to include that. Then we would go on to tier 2. This would be addressing those areas that are not VOCA eligible. And so we maintain those types of projects that are not able to get funding elsewhere very easily. So this is where we're going to be covering those on-call hours, which are critical to maintain advocates who are doing work 24/7, because they are only getting paid under their grants, those agencies, when the advocates are actually out on a call. They're not providing anything for those advocates when they are sitting at the ready and are able to lead the life that they would normally be leading, because they're waiting to be called out. And so we've always been able to provide a stipend for those agencies that needed those and have requested them in the past. And we would like to be able to continue to look at agencies like that. Also, there are newer grassroots organizations that are popping up now in response to the victims' needs. And many of them cannot meet the criteria for victim compensation, or not victim compensation, victim VOCA, victim assistance, because the victim assistance agencies have to have been in business for at least 2 years before VOCA can fund them underneath their requirements. And so because they don't have that history of service, they're not able to access funding that would be needed for them to operate in order to get the history of service. And so they'll be coming to us so that we can help them start up and get going as an agency and eventually show that history of service. So we're looking at projects like that, those types of projects that are not VOCA eligible. We're also looking at, in this category, we've dissuaded individuals or agencies in the past from applying for this when it comes to victim compensation. We've tried to supply all the dollars we could administratively for victim compensation, and we know we're going to be limited again on what we can provide them under that program. But it might be that if they have a specific need that may cross over into the victim assistance piece, it might be that a victim compensation program might be requesting additional funds here to fill out the position that they have. For example, we have a lot of the smaller counties. We are only funding a portion of a single position, and that person acts as an advocate as well as a victim comp coordinator. And so this could be a chance for them to potentially round that out and make that full-time position be able to cover all that they need for comp, and then also cover the advocacy piece as well. And that is something we have not been able to traditionally do in the past. But a lot of the time with those positions, because of the nature of the comp piece, it's hard for them to write an application to get the other portion funded because they cannot figure out where to unblur the lines between compensation and assistance. And so therefore they're not eligible for those VOCA funded funds. And so this is a potential chance for some of these smaller entities that are doing compensation to potentially move into a full-time position that is doing more and more with comp as time goes by and is covering the agency's need for assistance as well. So that's a possibility there as well. And so we're thinking that by targeting these projects as the second priority, we're filling those necessary gaps in service that would otherwise be difficult or impossible to sustain. We're aware that VOCA is using up the last of their ARPA dollars this year. They are not anticipating getting them for the following year. They won't be able to, and they do not know what their funding streams will look like beginning with federal fiscal year 26, which starts next October. They're not exactly sure where things are. But unfortunately, we're at a point where we can't really predict where they're going to be. But we can predict where we're going to be if we don't make some decisions on this at this point. And it will make it really hard for us to take our small $750,000 and push it out to the number of projects we currently have. Last year, we only funded half of the projects we had applications for. And we found that some of our friends and partners from prior years were not able to obtain funding because their application, although it met the threshold for funding, did not meet the scores to put it in the top. So they fell off, even though that their project was responsible and it was definitely something we could have worked with. There just was not enough dollars to go around. And so because we had to make it very much score oriented and score focused, they lost out. And many of them were smaller projects, smaller entities that are having to write their grants with the people that they have. Rather than hiring somebody else to do that for them. And so it kind of shows in their application sometimes. And we try to look beyond that, but the scores were what they were. And we had to have a method for funding since the amount of funding we had available was not enough to cover all of the applications we had that were eligible. So that's why we're looking at this potential for tiered funding. And with that, I am open for questions.
Thank you, Dorinda. Sean, I see you have your hand up.
Thank you. Dorinda, were most of the applications that you received from the rural areas, or did you receive some from the metropolitan areas that did not receive funding?
We received a couple from metropolitan areas that did not receive funding. Most of them were smaller, newer agencies whose projects were not as well conceived. And we had a lot of the metropolitan agencies now are looking beyond the metropolitan area for service as well. So they are indicating that they're providing service to a broader reach. And so those often got scored higher because of their indication of a broader reach. Whether or not they're reaching those areas that they say they are, we won't know until we have gone through a full year and we get information from them on who they were able to serve. And so we know that there's a mix in there of both rural and metropolitan projects that we did fund.
Will you extend it to some of those other projects that are not in the rural area, or is it just rural?
Oh, no. For this, what we would do here is we would provide it to all, it would be extended to everyone, but there would be a point system. So a rural area might get an extra point added on to their score to boost it up just a little bit because they're in a rural area and they're serving an area that's underserved. And so we're looking at, if we were to do this, chart here really quickly. So we would be providing an extra point or two. You could actually tell us how much you want us to provide for projects that are in rural areas. We have actually traditionally done that in the past, given them a boost up. And so that would be a consideration. And the other thing that we would do is we would also elevate, find the exact spot where I'll show it to you here. Elevate program sustainability. So there would be two areas where they could get additional points that would elevate their project up higher. One is if they are in a rural area, and another would be that if they have a really good sustainability process for after this funding is going to end. It's really difficult sometimes for projects that are starting up to think about how they're going to fund it ongoing, but they need to understand that this is not a guaranteed funding source. They're going to need to have a plan for how they're going to go forward with it. And if they've have that well defined and they're able to figure out how they'll integrate this project into their business ongoing, that's a really nice hand up to them as far as being able to have a project that's sustainable. So those would be the two areas we're looking at, providing them an extra point or two. But otherwise, everybody else is on a level playing field. It's all scored exactly the same. And the reviewers will not even know about these two preference points. Those will come at the end when we will identify those projects that have a sustainability plan and those projects that are rural. And then that's when the scoring is added on at the end. So the reviewers are never impacted by this at all. They are just looking at these as projects that are either training projects, VOCA ineligible projects, or VOCA eligible projects.
Thank you. And then my last question is for the low funding. On tier 3, do you have a threshold for low funding? I'm not sure what that means.
All right, so tier 3 lowest priority, what it means is that if we have $750,000 and we have 25 applications, and those 25 applications add up to $725,000, we're going to be able to fund everybody, and we'll just go to the tier 3s. But if we have $750,000 and we have $800,000 worth of applications that are eligible, we're going to fund the training projects fully first. Then we'll go on and we'll fund those that are non-VOCA eligible fully next. And then we'll rank order by score the remaining projects and say, okay, here's who we can fund and how much we can fund them for. And they might get a reduced funding amount potentially so that they're funded, but they may not get funded at 100%.
Okay, thank you.
But that would only happen if there's enough funding left in after tier 1 and tier 2 are fully funded. So we would make sure that those projects were fully funded before we go on to the next ones.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Dorinda, what are you guys depicting as rural?
So right now, I think we would be identifying we have 2 metropolitan areas in Pima County and Maricopa County. as far as population is concerned. And with the other counties, even though there's a population center in Coconino County, the majority of Coconino County is rural. But the majority of Pima and the majority of Maricopa, where the people are living, would be considered metropolitan.
Okay, so for instance, I know Gilbert is opening a new advocacy center. They would still be considered metropolitan.
They would be part of the Phoenix metro area. But they could apply for what they
Yeah.
need, and they would become a tier 3 project potentially.
Correct.
I'd like to make a motion to recommend to the commission that funding for FY 2027 Crime Victim Assistance Grant Program be awarded in accordance with the following tiered policy structure and guidelines as detailed in below.
Thank you, Sean. Do I hear a second?
And I'll second it.
Thank you, Roxanne. It's been moved and seconded to accept the recommendation on the tiered funding for crime victim assistance funding as proposed by staff. Is there any further discussion? Seeing and hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed, nay. Chair votes aye, and the motion passes. We are now on to 3B.
Yeah, item 3B is information only. So this does not require a vote. This is just to let you know what the plan is going to be as far as the timeline that has been changed. So we are holding steady with the anticipated total funding that we have. We've indicated the last 3 years. So we would be continuing this for a 4th year at $750,000. We may go above this if funds are available closer to the time frame where we are able to award, and we will identify those funds at that time. But right now we're sitting at comfortably $750,000 as being available. That would be an anticipated average max award of $75,000 if we want to maintain that amount, which we've done in the past. Many training projects fall below that amount, and there are a few that will fall above that amount. And so the $75,000 is the average cost that we have been seeing. And so we let them know that so that they're aware of that they shouldn't ask us for the full $750,000. We had an application 1 year that did ask for the full $750,000 we had available. So we just want to manage expectations by providing them an idea of what their grant amount is going to fall around. Our plan is for a December 16th information meeting. We're going to be sending out announcements tomorrow about this so that they can get it on their calendar. This is a meeting prior to the notice of funding opportunity being released. And the actual notice of funding release will actually happen on Monday, January 5th. And that will open the 6-week application period. And the application deadline will be Friday, February 13th at 3 p.m. And then we will start the scoring process. And normally the scoring process starts in the middle to end of March. So we are about a month ahead of time at this point, which is good, so that we can have our entire final award approval well in advance of the May commission meeting. We will have a meeting in April once all of our scores are in and available, and we will be setting those meeting dates here in the near future so that you're aware of it, and then you will see this at the April meeting for the committee. And with that, I'm open for questions.
Thank you, Dorinda. Questions? 6 weeks is a little longer than we've had in the past, isn't it?
It's exactly what's required under statute. We've always had it open at exactly 6 weeks.
Okay. Seemed like it was shorter last year for some reason.
It felt like it, but it wasn't. It was like 6 weeks exactly to the day.
Yeah.
But like I will tell you, we only had 3 weeks to review all of those applications.
Maybe that's what it was.
And that was where the pressure was. And then we only had, after they finished reviewing it, I had 3 days to put together the recommendation because we were trying to get everything to the commission well in advance. And in prior years, with the timeframes they were giving for the agendas, we would have had several more days. But the switch to the new agenda schedule of getting it out 10 business days before the commission meeting is a great one, but it needs to be backed up for us. We need to back up our timeframes to ensure that we're able to meet that. And we're going to do the same for you, making sure you're getting it within 10 days of when our meetings are taking place as well. So you have time to review everything.
Cool.
And so with that, we had to adjust all of our timeframes just a little bit. So then the last item is coming up.
Yeah, summary of current events. You've been busy with Domestic Violence Awareness Month. All of you here, thank you for your participation and your support of Domestic Violence Awareness Month. I do want to correct what Dorinda said. Our commission meeting is on the 20th, not next week. So.
Okay, the 20th. Okay.
Yeah.
Because you still have 10 business days after today.
Yeah, I haven't even received the agenda yet.
Yeah, the agenda comes out today.
Yeah.
I'm the holdup for that. I'm sorry.
Perfect, no problem. But any other current events going on? Go ahead, Roxanne.
Hello. We right now with the Navajo County Attorney's Office, we just had concluded Domestic Violence Awareness Month. We do a purple lighting at the corner and had a candlelight vigil on October 1st. But right now, and I have to let Dorinda and Caitlin know this too, we're doing our software conversion for American Prosecutor. We're in the middle of our big software conversion. Our system's locked down. We're supposed to go live on Monday. So we're doing a lot of work on that, which has been very interesting, kind of taxing, but I'm excited that we're finally moving forward on that. And I also wanted to mention that because we're also looking in the future with the new victim compensation portal about maybe an interface with our system. So I'm trying to get what we need to get done here on our end so we can be prepared when we go live with your guys' version to start working on that interface with our vendor. So we're pushing ahead on that. And then looking forward just to going into the holidays. Something I wanted to mention is, and it's kind of been in the back of my mind, directing a program in a rural community and not knowing federal and or state budget restrictions might be present in fiscal years to come. They've been trying to figure out ways to funding sources and or just ideas to where if I have to eventually do layoffs, I can still maintain the service levels that we are providing, and focusing money into technology improvements to where our victims can actually access a lot more information without utilizing a person to do that. As far as like in the criminal, like I work for the county attorney's office, but accessing their case information online so they don't have to make a phone call to get an update, as an example, is something I'm kind of looking into. And I'm wondering or curious if that could fit in with the training priorities to some degree with this victim assistance grant, because if we are faced in the future with just having to make personnel cuts, I kind of want to feel as much of the same level of service as we can to victims, and technology might be a way to do that. It's just something I've been thinking about and something I wanted to mention. But besides that, that's everything I had to say. So thank you very much.
Roxanne, on that last point, I can talk with you offline about potential funding options in the future. I know that there are some technology funding opportunities that closed not that long ago, but they reopen periodically. So if I'm aware of what exactly your needs are, I will be looking for those for you.
I really do appreciate it. Thank you, Dorinda.
That, and maybe Lloyd can coach her on Vine and a couple other things too.
Yeah, and with the notification piece, Vine itself in Arizona is limited currently to the where the offender is located, but Vine in other states covers all other notifications regarding the court case, and so you might want to look at what opportunities might exist there that we have not fully utilized in Arizona yet.
Yeah, and I always worry about counties like Navajo County where you know, all of us are well versed on this, but sometimes most folks don't get well versed on it, and certainly their public doesn't get well versed on how to get a computer to just check on their case and things like that. So yeah, if we can help them out, that'd be great. Any other current events from anywhere else in the state? Anything from you, Dorinda?
So we just finished up a very busy season this last month. We did a lot of things here at ACJC. So we had a toiletries drive. We have not yet counted everything. We finished getting the boxes back from all of the agencies in the building yesterday. And I'm pretty sure they're going to want us to move those somewhere and get rid of them pretty quick because they're piling up in the hallway here at ACJC. And then we went to the governor's Lighting Arizona Purple event. That was really, really good. I really enjoyed that event. It was a good one. We went to City of Chandler's event that they had. And then we did a site visit tour through 3 of our counties this last month, and started off in Tucson, ended up in Nogales, and hit several nonprofits and several county attorneys' offices along the way. And so it was really good to get out there and reach out to everybody. The one thing that is coming up for us is in December, we are anticipating having it's going to be 2 different days in 2 different weeks, but 1-day meetings each of those weeks, having to do with trauma-informed notices for our victim compensation coordinators. We are working on contracting with an outside entity to provide the training on how to develop their notices in a trauma-informed manner. We feel like this is a great time for that because with the new system going into place, they're going to have to provide their notices to the vendor to put into that system. And one of the things we've noticed over the last few years, but more recently as we've been doing our desk audits, is that oftentimes there are inconsistent notices from claim to claim because some of the newer people don't look and see that there is a notice already written for that, so they rewrite the notice the way they feel it should be. Some of them are very formal with a lot of legal language that will just confuse a victim because they can't get past their statutory references and to see that what exactly happened with their claim. And others are a little too personal. And so what we've done is we've asked this vendor to bring on an expert. We have knowledge of at least one expert out there who's helped other states rewrite their letters. It is currently out for bid through the contract process. I anticipate at least one vendor is applying for it that I'm aware of. And I'm aware of who that vendor is. I do not know if any other vendors will apply for it or not, but we will determine which vendor gets it within the next week or so, and they will be brought on to do that training with the coordinators. And we are doing it 2 separate weeks, one as an in-person meeting and the other one as a virtual meeting, so that we can fully access everybody that we can for that project. And get them all as engaged as possible, recognizing that an in-person would be the ideal, but that sometimes that just can't happen that way. And so we're going to try and engage in a couple of different ways to make sure that everybody's able to participate in that process. And the hope is to have really good notices written, and we'll take the templates of those notices and put them in the new system.
Excellent. Anything else? Well, I'm not going to read.
Oh, podcast. There's a
Oh, yeah.
podcast out there for everybody. I
Yes.
forgot. There's a podcast out there that was put out at the end of this last month, and it features Roxanne.
Perfect.
Awesome.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for that opportunity. It sure was a lot of fun.
She didn't even pat herself on the back on that one. It was a good podcast. Well done.
I'm in my head right now because we have like the software conversion just has me like focusing on like my emails are coming in and I'm like, oh, this has been a lot. But no, I appreciate the shout out. Thank you, Dorinda. Yes, please listen. It's about domestic violence victims in rural communities. And I like to share an interesting perspective. Not a lot of people always understand what it's like to be a victim in an area like Navajo County. So I'm just thankful for the opportunity to kind of speak on their behalf and speak on the services that we provide. So thank you to ACJC for that.
Yeah, I hope everybody up in your area can actually access that too, because it's well done. Yep. I will not read that whole preamble for the call to the public unless you guys have a person who is called in for call to the public.
We have nobody who's reached out to us for call to the public.
Okay, sounds good. The next meeting has yet to be determined. The date has yet to be determined, so be on the lookout for a meeting date and time. A reminder that the actual commission meeting will be on the 20th at 1:30 in downtown Phoenix. So if there is no other business to address at this time, I will consider the meeting adjourned, and thank you all for your time and have the best day.
Thank you, Commissioner Stahl.